you're watching The Date. I'm Aug2013 and today I'm going to be meeting Amit Burman of Dabur, who literally has his hands full these days, not only with the family business, but also with his own venture, Light Bite Foods. We get chatting to him on how he's keeping pace with the rapid growth in his businesses. Amit Burman is part of the fourth generation of the Burman family. Founders of one of India's largest consumer goods companies, Dabur. Amit is one of the youngest members of the family to have risen the ranks of the group so fast and is recognized for branching out on his own and successfully creating the foods division of the group with real juices, today which make up close to 17% of Dabur's top line. As Vice Chairman of Dabur, we asked Amit about his vision to take the company forward and also about his latest venture, Light Bite Foods, which is a combination of casual dining restaurants like Punjab Grill and Fresco, as well as quick service brands like Wraps and Street Foods of India. Dabur has always really encouraged members of the family to go out there to build their own businesses and, display their entrepreneurial skills. But when you first decided to venture out on your own, and that too into a new category like food, were there any murmurs of surprise?
Well, I think the reason for the same were very simple, as you correctly said. We were professionalizing the company in a way. I had come before that, but when I was in the company as such, learning the parts of the company, be it manufacturing, be it operations, finance, marketing, I went to each and every department. But it was too large for me to handle it, and I didn't want to go into one department as such, because I wouldn't develop to be an entrepreneur or to handle bigger businesses as such. So at that time, I was always been passionate about food, and I saw an opportunity in the juice segment, and the opportunity was very clear. Because when you're living abroad, you usually tend to have a glass of juice in the morning, and if you wanted to replicate that here, it wasn't possible, because you would get those tin juices with a lot of preservatives and all brownish looking stuff coming out of an orange juice tin. So the opportunity was clear that Indians like to drink juices because there is a juice wala in every market, and there's no other hygienic way of doing it. So therefore, we decided to, we hired a machine, put it up in Nepal, started testing out different juices like orange, mango, and pineapple, and instantly it was a hit. So that started the food division for me.
But what were also some of the learnings for you as, as somebody running a business in terms of managing some of these new equations, costs, people, risks? What were some of the things that you learned during that initial phase?
And the learning in any business is that your customer is always right, and you're only there for the customer. So you have to get the right product for the customer which he likes and the right price. So I think we learned that in a way, because when we started the juice businesses with the unsweetened category as such, which today we have it under active. But the bigger market was there for the sweetened category, because people in India, if you look at the consumer how they use the juices, they put orange juice and they put sugar in it and have, because they don't like the bitter taste as compared to the European counterparts. So we started sweetening the juices for under here, and that was a bigger brand. Of course, the unsweetened category developed a bit later with the healthy people wanted to be healthy or perceived healthy, and they wanted to drink unsweetened juices, and that category is also built as a large category. But the bigger category is the real sweetened category.
Right. So when you started out on your own, a lot of people turn around and say that yes, it's a success story, but the backing of a behemoth like Dabur and a century-old family business, it must have been simple, or it must have been a lot easier than it would be for an average entrepreneur. How would you answer that? I mean, I know that, of course, financial backing is one thing, but in other ways,
Well, there are goods, going back to that statement you made. The good thing is that, of course, the financial backing was there. Of course, the infrastructure was there, which I could use in terms of R&D, in terms of people in marketing, in sales. But the bad thing is that, basically that in learning, like if I was using the same distribution system, which I did, I started getting a lot of products back because, again, our distribution system was not could not handle short shelf life. So I had to start building a new distribution system altogether. So that was a learning, but I got a lot of rejection, a lot of losses coming from there. So similarly, I learned the same thing in marketing. That there are different ways to advertise or promote your product as compared to a fast-moving consumer products. And in a thing like in board meetings and so on and so forth, because being a family member, you probably got I probably got hammered more than any other professional coming and presenting, because if you don't finish your work at your workplace, it comes back to your dining table. So you're thinking, working all the time, even after you come back.
There seems to be a lot more pressure as well, right? There's this
A lot more pressure, yeah, of course.
as you said, there's constant accountability in a sense because you're constantly talking about it and having to be answerable to some extent.
Yeah, and also because our family has got a lot of different moving parts in terms of brothers, cousins. So everybody's looking at you.
Exactly.
At, what's going to happen here? Is he going to succeed? Is he going to fail? What's going to happen? So.
And that's what I wanted to ask you. Like, how do you manage family relationships in such a large business? Because, okay, what happens if, or what is the SOP if, let's say, somebody ventures out and doesn't succeed?
So that's the reason we want people to venture out and succeed rather than do businesses in Dabur. And I think I was the last one in the family who actually did a business in Dabur. And then I merged it in Dabur and I went out and did something else. The reason is that you cannot hire or fire a family member. So it's very difficult because everybody has their qualities and everybody has some of their drawbacks, and you cannot judge everybody same. But in a business you need to judge everybody same. So from that point of view, the reason we professionalize the company, that look, this company is sacred, this is where all our dividends, all our monies and everything comes out of. So you have enough money in your private hands, so you go out and do something on your own, where nobody has to judge you from the family. And if one of the family members or a group of family members wants to invest with you, so be it. That's up to you. So like right now, in my new business of Light Bite Foods, I don't have any family member which is in partnership with me. I run it on my own.
So, you're actually one of the, younger members of the Dabur family that's actually managed to achieve a lot in just over a decade. So, when you had that success with foods and brought it back into the fold and took on your new role at Dabur, how did it feel for you personally? Was it a huge feeling of success, of achievement?
Yeah, accomplishment, I would say, I think. Well, it was a mixed emotion because, of course, you're running the business and it's so close to your heart. But then as a baby, you've grown into such a level, and to nurture it, you want to put it into a bigger organization where it can now grow to a much, much bigger height. Of course, feeling of success was there, feeling that what you created is something that the whole family is proud of, and and it's good for the entire business as such. And today, food is about 16-17% of our top line of our whole Dabur business. So that is some success from me.
Of course. The family is still very much involved in guiding the vision of the company or, its strategy going ahead, even though it's very professionally managed.
Correct.
As you're at the helm, what is the kind of future you see for Dabur? And, how do you also plan to keep it evolving with times? For instance, signature brands like a Chyawanprash or a Hajmola who've been around forever. How do you keep them, relevant?
So, as the vision of the family, of myself, I see Dabur as a healthcare company, and more going into the healthcare, because that's where our forte is. Our forte is from Ayurveda and learning a lot about, herbs and medicines, and therefore, from that point of view, I would see Dabur to be focused in that area. Of course, FMCG, personal care and all is a large part of the portfolio, but there's a lot of competition there with the multinationals in that portfolio. So we should be number one in healthcare, and there are various things which we are doing to be there as number one.
Do stay tuned, we'll be back in just a moment.
The opportunities are there all over the world. We have now, franchise location in Singapore. We are opening up 3 in Abu Dhabi. We are opening up 1 in Bangkok.
So Light Bite Foods, tell us all about it. It's very exciting. It's growing so rapidly. I mean, is that also, building up towards the IPO, as you've always said?
Well, at some point of time, of course, that should happen. That's the way to go. But it's going very well. We're running about 65 outlets now. 13 more coming up in Mumbai Airport as we speak. We should be about close to 100 outlets by the end of this year. And I think the thing about Light Bite Foods is, the sheer numbers in the QSR. And in the CDR, the right locations and the right product, like you see here at Zamba, which people really appreciate, and we then get the confidence of taking it all over India and the rest of the world.
So was this a natural progression for you, considering your interest in food, or once again was it about, right time, right place?
I think it was probably right time, right place, because I think after the foods division, I had merged into Dabur as such. I had a lot of spare time in my hands, and that time retail was just starting up. Everybody's looking at retail in a big way. Hypermarket, supermarket, Walmarts, and so on. So, but I saw the food space as a space to look at, because again, there were not very much organized food spaces or restaurants or brands, and the reason was because there were not enough retail spaces. So every mall has a food court, every mall has restaurant. So I felt with so much retail space coming up, that is a requirement which will happen, and that's how we started moving at it. Now, why did we do so many brands? I think what we understood is that location in India is the key. So if you find a good location, you just put all the brands there, and if you researched your brand, and if your brand is correct, it's going to work, because footfalls are there. And that's the natural progression into the travel retail side, which has happened.
Restaurant business is a really tough business. I mean, a lot of people have tried and failed.
Very tough. It looks very nice from the outside. It's very tough from the inside.
I'm sure. I mean, consumers are also fickle sometimes, right? So, of course, there are a lot of synergies you enjoy from, for instance, taking multiple spaces in malls and things like that. But tell me a little bit more in terms of the kind of strategies that have worked, or also the management mantras that you follow that have made this whole business successful.
The mantra which we would follow is to try and motivate people to see your dream and work to see that this company is going to go, I won't say in India, I'm saying all over the world, and the opportunities are there all over the world. We have now franchise location in Singapore. We are opening up 3 in Abu Dhabi. We are opening up 1 in Bangkok. So from a person's people point of view, chef or be it front of house, they have an opportunity to go out and explore. That is one opportunity. And of course, to be in the story where not very many companies are there in terms of having a mix of both QSR and CDR, and to go global with it.
So many people these days keep talking about how the Indian market itself is so huge, and you're already smiling. And how there's just so much to do here. Not that I don't see the merit in going global, but why there's such a big focus on international markets so soon?
So see, I just believe that international brands have come into India, and none of our brands, I wouldn't say, not many, a handful maybe, who've been able to go internationally. And yes, I agree the Indian market is huge and you have to do a lot of stuff here, but I just feel that I don't want to miss out the international opportunity too, where there are not very many Indian brands out there which are, I would say, professionalized and a chain, which we are trying to do here, and I don't want to lose that opportunity.
So what about Scalini now? Tell us about that as well.
Scalini is a very iconic restaurant in London. I think it's been around for about 25 years. It's does very good business year on year. I think people from India, both Delhi, Bombay, a lot of very familiar. A lot of UAE residents I see there very familiar. Russians go there a lot. So I think the idea is, of course, the business itself is a profitable business and it's a good business to be in. It doesn't see much fluctuation as such. But the bigger picture is, from my learnings in Right Foods, is to take it outside the UK and put it in places where people are familiar with it. Be it Bombay to start with, be it Dubai, next, be it Moscow for that matter. So we can do a lot in franchising, and US can be another destination. But so that's what the story is.
In terms of your lifestyle now, does it involve traveling all over the place all the time?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love traveling, and yes, it takes me to places which I like going. So be it London, be it Bangkok, be it Singapore and Dubai. So for me, I love these places.
That must also mean that you're trying out a lot of different food and restaurants in these places.
Definitely. I always to go and try a new cuisine or a new restaurant when I'm outside. Like this time I was in Singapore and I went to this very nice Spanish tapas bar called Catalonia. Fabulous on the water. And I see a lot of these Spanish tapas joints, opening up. And it's almost like you can say, very close to Indian cuisine, because people in India also like to have, with their drinks, the snack part, which is not there in other cultures, and it is there in Spain. So, it could work here.
All right, well, we're going to get talking to Amit a little bit more about his other interests, but after this very quick break, we'll be right back.
I think I've also learned from my mistakes, and I let people make mistakes to get a learning out of it, and then do it correct and do it right and do it more passion than not to fail again.
So what is Amit Verman, the boss, like?
As a boss, I'm very, very calm and not, I don't get angry or stressed about things. I think I've also learned from my mistakes, and I let people make mistakes to, get a learning out of it, and then do it correct and do it right and do it more passion than not to fail again. So I let people be in their space, try and help them to achieve their goals as such, and therefore achieve the goals of the company, or the vision or the strategy of the company, what I'm trying to do. So it's sort of empowerment. I don't work as a dictator at all, or it's more to carry the team along. It's more to do with, we learn as we go. We're also doing it for the first time. So that's how we go.
You have a lot of other interests, Amit, from flying to golf to food we've discussed. So where do you find the time for all of these things?
It's difficult because you have to juggle a lot of stuff. But like golf, we play once a week, in the weekend at least once, couple of times practice. But now with the summer being there, it's very difficult to play. Flying I used to do a lot in the US, but since I've come back, it's not been very much. But I go to the gym every day after eating all this kind of food, which I have to eat every day to taste different food. And nowadays, what we have is once a week, one of our chefs has to do something different for us, for the directors, so that we don't bring lunch on a Wednesday and then they create some stuff, and then if you like it, we try and give it for tasting to other consumers, and it's been put on the menu.
So your children are still very young, but would you want them to join the family business at some point?
No, I think what I would like them to do is, do what they like doing, go with their passion, go with the flow. This is always there as a backup. So let them go explore. If I'm sure they will just succeed, and I'll be there to guide them for them to do that. This is always there if they want to come back.
And what is some of the advice you would give to them or other young entrepreneurs out there today?
I think follow your heart. When you do something new, something different, there are always 100 people who will tell you how it can't be done. But if you have done a lot of detailing in terms of homework, what you're trying to attempt, and you keep at it you will definitely succeed. You have to have the right kind of people around you. You have to give the people a little bit of empowerment to achieve, and you will succeed.
Okay, finally, Amit, do you also have Chyawanprash every day?
Well, I used to as a kid, but now that has gone into a more multivitamin product called Nutrigo, which I have every day. So this changed from Chyawanprash to that. But again, like I said, if it comes in a form which is convenient for me, I'll definitely have it. So maybe we'll have to make a capsule with Chyawanprash powder in it for me to have it.
Maybe that's something on the cards.
Yeah, sure.
Amit, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to have lunch with you, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's all from us on this edition of The Day. Thanks for watching.